Welcome back to Sunrise Daily. So we're at that point where you explain, giving us some explanation concerning the card reader.
Yes, if you look at the provisions of Section 49 of the Electoral Act 2010 as amended, it provides that when a voter gets to the polling unit, the voter will report to the presiding officer. And it is the presiding officer that will make a determination on whether the person's name is on the voters register by checking the voters register, and also make a determination whether the PVC that the person has come to the polling unit with is genuine. And the card reader is part of that quality control mechanism for checking such a situation. So what we have done is that we have enhanced the power of the card reader. Now, if the presiding officer makes a determination that the card reader that the person is holding is genuine and emanates from the Independent National Electoral Commission, then the voter has passed the first stage. Then the card reader is supposed to read the voter's biometrics. If the card reader is unable to read the voter's biometrics and the presiding officer is satisfied that the name of the voter is on the register and that the picture of the voter is on the register, after 4 attempts at getting the biometrics to be read, the presiding officer will recapture the voter and then incidents that in the voters register, because we have reconfigured the voters register to capture that, and then the voter will be allowed to vote.
What about
the issue of having an incident form, a separate incident form, where people will sign that...
Are you not using the incident form?
We are not going to touch the incident form this time around, because we have gone beyond the incident form.
That even with the, if we're going back to the old Electoral Act,
yes,
you won't use the
we are not using the incident form.
But even
because
hold on. Even if you are not using the incident form,
yes,
you cannot outrightly say that the card reader is the only reliable election instrument to rely on to prove election results.
No. That's not what we are doing. What the card reader is meant to authenticate the voter's card and also verify that the person holding it is the genuine owner of the card.
Which the incident form can also do.
No, the incident form cannot do that. What the incident form records that, oh, you have come to the polling unit, your name is there, the smart card reader cannot read your biometrics. So we have given you a form to incident your name so that you can vote. What we are not doing is that the fact that the voter's card, the permanent voter's card with you is genuine, gives you the right to vote, and we recapture you so that the fact that you have voted is captured by the smart card reader. So it's no longer the fact that you have a smart card reader that has captured 50 people with permanent voter's card, and then 100 incident forms that are not reflected in the smart card reader. Everybody who has voted and everybody that has been allowed to vote must be captured by the smart card reader, because we piloted electronic codation and transmission of results in Ekiti and in Osun State. And all these things are working. But you see, we cannot deploy some of these technologies until the Electoral Act is amended. But what we are doing is that we are preparing ahead of time.
1 second.
Yes.
So the technologies, you deployed some of these technologies in Ekiti and Osun.
Yes.
But you can't deploy it now because the Electoral Act is not signed.
Yes, we piloted both. We piloted e-collation and e-transmission in Ekiti and in Osun elections.
So in those 2 elections, there was no legal backing for what you did.
There was no legal backing for what we did, and that was why the results are not made public, because we are piloting.
What happened in the situation of Osun State? You got to a point where the elections were inconclusive,
yes,
as far as we understand. And a lot of people raised the red flag on INEC at that time, saying
yes,
that if you declare these results inconclusive, knowing fully well that everything, at the end of the day, we had a winner and we had a loser.
Yes.
But then postponing it, because you had to rely on the card reader to still find out what went wrong. Doesn't that raise questions about the integrity of INEC?
No. I really do not want to go into what happened during the Osun elections because the matter is pending in court and is sub judice. But the truth of the matter is that the issues around the Osun elections revolved around 7 polling units. And it also revolved around the interpretation of the margin of lead in an election and whether the issue of the margin of lead that is provided in our guidelines is constitutional, taking into consideration the fact that the Constitution says that the moment somebody has secured the majority of lawful votes and secured the spread, that the person should be declared the winner. So the issue now revolves around whether INEC is right constitutionally and legally in using the issue of margin of lead in an election to declare the election, not to announce the result of the elections and declare a winner. We have our own position on that, and we believe that we are right. But the matter is sub judice, and we have submitted to the jurisdiction of the court, and whatever the court decides becomes binding on the Independent National Electoral Commission.
Okay, well, let me get your thoughts about this. On the backdrop of about, say, reports saying that about 20 states still having some degree of insecurity leading up to the 2019 elections. How have you been able to assimilate these information such that we ensure that the 2019 general elections is violence-free?
Well, we have been holding series of meetings with the heads of the different security agencies, both at the national level and at the state level, under the auspices of the Interagency Committee on Election Security. We are taking all these things on board. We also have a committee on IDP voting that have designed a framework on how people who have been displaced from their communities can vote during the elections. And during the continuous voters registration exercise, we capture the majority of those who are in the different IDP camps and also those who are in neighboring communities and displaced as a result of the insurgency.
Which states are those?
States like Benue, Pt.2, and even some in the Federal Capital Territory. Adamawa, Yobe, and the rest of them. So where we have IDP camps, we capture them, and we have mapped out a framework on how they are going to vote. And there's a standing committee that is dealing with that as of today. But the truth of the matter is that, you know, the military is engaged in internal security operations in so many states of the country, and the different resident electoral commissioners are assessing the various local governments under their jurisdiction to make a determination on where we can deploy and where it may not be possible to deploy. We are determined to conduct election in every part of Nigeria, unless the situation becomes such that it is impossible to conduct election in a particular local government, in which case we will make arrangements on how the people displaced from those local governments can vote. So we are taking all these things on board, and we are also doing what we call a security threat assessment in relation to all the states of the Federation.
What does that entail?
What it entails is that we need to know where we can deploy without any problem. We need to know where we have serious communal issues.
Have you identified them already?
Where the various resident electoral commissioners have been on this for quite a while, and we've been considering their reports and identifying some of these flashpoints and some of these areas where we may likely have some challenges, and we are taking all those challenges on board.
When is the report coming out?
No, this report is for the internal consumption of the Independent National Electoral Commission, because, you know, we are going to deploy UCOR members, and we need to assure the National Youth Service Corps that in places that appear to be problematic, that we have made security arrangements on how to protect some of these corps members who are going to be on national duty. So we are mapping out all these areas. As of today, we have an advisory committee on logistics. And this advisory committee, headed by the National Commissioner AVM Mwazu, will deal with the issue of logistics in the elections. How we are going to deploy, where we are going to deploy, the mechanisms of deployment, how we are going to deal with the issue of flashpoints, and so on and so forth. So we have that committee on ground, and the committee is already working.
You know, this you said something about the report that will come out, and it's for your internal consumption.
Yes.
I'm sure Nigerians will also want to get some level of assurance as regards how safe their loved ones will be, who will be deployed to all these places. So I think it would also be a good idea if that report is made public or some level of assurance is given to families and parents and friends and who would have their siblings or friends serving in the youth service at that time. So it would be good. I think I wonder if INEC is planning towards that.
Maybe when the committee has this final report, the commission as a body may take a decision on whether to make the report public or which aspects of the report to make public. But we are working on that, and we are identifying some of these areas.
Okay, the commission at a point, or the chairman of the commission came up at one time to talk about a state that was not going to have candidates from a particular party.
Yes.
Has that matter been resolved? Zamfara.
Well, there are 2 or 3 matters pending in court in relation to that particular issue, and part of our business is to obey every court order. But that matter has not been resolved. But the truth of the matter is that if you look at Section 87 of the Electoral Act, it makes it very clear that the only business of a political party engaged in party primary elections is to conduct elections through direct or indirect primaries. And those who are engaged in those primaries are called aspirants. It is when they have won, one person has won, that the person's name will be submitted to the Independent National Electoral Commission as the candidate of the party. So the issue of a party not having conducted party primaries, submitting the list of candidates to the Independent National Electoral Commission is completely out of the way.
But that's, you've just said by and large that is a party affair. That's not necessarily what INEC should meddle into.
No. The law is very clear that for you to approach the Independent National Electoral Commission with a list, you must conduct direct or indirect primaries. If you don't conduct direct or indirect primaries, you cannot have a list which you are going to submit to us, because the law gives INEC the authority to monitor your party primary elections. So if you write to INEC saying, we didn't conduct party primary elections, or we are not interested in conducting party primary elections, you cannot submit, you cannot come back to submit any list to us.